bang.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Connecting.
This is a good time for you to use that advertisement button. Just so you know.
Sorry, just a little ad break.
Okay.
People who are watching are just like, I guess they're finished.
Like,
I guess that's how it ends.
Yeah, it's just an uh-oh moment.
Sorry, you saw that they confirmed that there's a new TV series for Concoli in development.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah.
I thought that was announced in 2015.
It was announced after the fucking last episode of the series.
Yeah, I was like, wait, they are announcing it again?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite a few years.
I was like, it should be ready to go. What the fuck?
All right, guys, we're up live again.
All right then, just tell me when.
When we hit record and.
All right.
We
3.
just need you.
Don't worry, I got it. 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, guys. Little technical difficulties here. It might sound odd for the recording here, but for the live stream purposes, my computer shut down, so lost a lot of the quality audio. So I apologize out there, but let's just pick up right where we left off. What do you say, Corey and Hickey, my fellow hosts that are so kind to be with us, do this with me?
I mean, we have no choice, so sure.
I mean, we do have a choice. We're not fucking. He's not holding us at gunpoint here.
All right. So we just finished our 9 main shows for the 2019 winter season outlook, and we just have some others worth mentioning. And are you gonna watch kind of situation here? So as we go down the list, Mob Psycho 100 season 2.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Me too. Psychic Comedy Part 2, I'm 100% down for it. Kakaguri XX.
Yes.
Yes.
Hot and Bothered Part 2. Hot and Bothered Women Part 2, I should say.
Well,
yeah,
meant to.
Well, yeah, I suppose, yeah. and awesome faces. All right, Boogie Pop Phantom 2019. I believe it's a reboot, as far as I can tell.
It sure is. Already started.
Yeah, I'll start later, so yes, I'm gonna watch it as well.
It's a hard no for me. I didn't like the original, so I have no interest in the reboot. Date Alive 3.
Probably my favorite harem of a few years back, so yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I've watched 2 seasons of this shit, so might as well watch the 3rd one.
Yeah,
I guess I should watch the movie too, but yeah.
I dropped the original season, so no chance for me personally. Not a fan. The second movie, Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel Part 2, Lost Butterfly.
I need to get to the first one first, but yes.
Yeah, right. It's not on my power to decide if I'm gonna watch it or not.
I'm definitely gonna watch it by any means necessary. And last but not least, another movie, Yojo Senki, the movie.
Isn't that just a recap, or is that actually a sequel?
I'm not sure. I couldn't tell.
All right, then. So the answer is no.
Either way, it's a no for me.
I think it's a sequel.
All right, then.
Because of
I guess the answer is no.
I just saw like the promo art.
Okay.
But there are new characters in the promo art, so I believe it's a sequel.
It's a prequel. Yojo Senki 0.
Oh yeah, it's just the boring life of the guy who got killed by God. Yeah, of course.
Yep.
It's just a slice of life from Mike. It's not up to me. If I can, I will watch, but I don't think I will be able to.
Okay. Well, that does it for the winter seasonal outlook and our moving bar. Despite the technical difficulties, really good conversation. And I'm excited for this season. It looks very solid. It seems to have something for everybody. Well, okay. I am going to play another drop, perhaps a commercial from one of our amazing other anime podcasts that help us out, and we'll get into our anime for review over Revolutionary Girl Utena.
Now, it's time we start dealing with the business at hand.
Okay. So, here we are. It's that moment of the cast yet again where we talk about an old anime, a retro anime for review, brought to us by one of our amazing listeners who won our November contest of 2018, and he got to choose an anime for us to review, and that was Revolutionary Girl Utena. And what is this show about? Well, it's from 1997. It spans 39 episodes. It's from Studio JC Staff, same studio that brought us Food Wars, Hunting Clover, and Slayers, a show we reviewed in the past. So a lot of JC Staff is a pretty famous studio. This is from director Kuniko Ikuhara.
Kuniko.
Yeah, or Kunihiko.
Kunihiko.
Yeah,
Kunihiko.
Yeah, thank you. He's done Sailor Moon S. He went on to do later Mawaru Penguin Drum. That's what he's known for, and he's also
Marashi.
Yeah, that's another
Storm.
one. I never watched that one personally. Did you guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It's so dumb. But
Right.
it's Ikuhara.
Alrighty. So, what is the summary over Revolutionary Girl Utena? Well, when Utena Tenjo was very little, her parents died, and a prince comforted her in her time of loss, giving her a ring with a rose seal. He so impressed her that she decided to become a prince herself one day. Now, Utena is a teenager at Otori Academy, who's athletic and notorious for dressing in a boy's uniform. When a member of the student council humiliates a friend of hers, Utena challenges him to a duel, and he accepts, only when he sees she possesses a rose seal ring. That same one that the prince gave her. She soon discovers that this is no normal duel. It's a bizarre and ritualistic battle that the student council regularly conducts. In fact, when she wins, Utena finds to her considerable chagrin that she gets to have Anthe Himemiya, a rather docile student, as her quote-unquote rose bride. If she wants to keep Anthe, she'll have to win more duels against the members of the student council and others close to them. What is the ultimate purpose of these duels, and Anthe's role as the rose bride? So quite a bizarre summary for a show, wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's like you could explain it, but at that point it's like, what's the point?
What's the point?
You need to kind of watch the show. It doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense right off the get-go. It's the sort of things like it expands on it more as it goes, and then by the end it's like, all right, okay, I see.
Right.
Yeah, whoever made the summary try their best. That's
Yeah.
what I feel like. The only thing you can put in a summary for Utena is the basic stuff. Duels, characters.
You know what? I'm honestly a little bit...
Maybe a direction of the plot. But
Yeah.
it's a little bit hard.
I'm just a little bit sad that JD didn't just go full on, that like narration at the beginning when they described the backstory of Utena.
Of Utena, every single time.
Well, not every single time, but in quite a few episodes they do.
Yeah,
It's not
a few
every
times.
episode.
Yeah, not every single
A
time.
lot of times, but not every single time.
So I immediately got Cutie Honey cross Rosa Versailles vibes in the show, from the artwork to the characters. Not the story being told. That's way too different, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a car. Nah, I mean, I haven't seen Rosa Versailles yet, so I can't really comment on that. But I kind of get the Cutie Honey vibes. But I mean, like, at least some of them. But it's kind of like Cutie Honey is also weird in its own way, but you know, obviously a lot of stuff that like pseudo magical girl transformations and whatnot stuff. It's like, you know, Cutie Honey basically popularized that anyways.
Right.
Yeah, the art style is very early 90s shoujo.
Yep.
You still have a lot of the pointy chins and things like that.
And
So
noses.
yeah, because the noses, yeah, because in 1997 you started to see the round shaped faces for females and smaller bodies. They start to come in play. So yeah, so it's more of a early 90s, maybe very late 80s shoujo like art style. So yeah, I can see the Versailles, the Rosa Versailles, especially because there's roses everywhere.
Yeah, a lot of symbolism with the use of the rose, the tomboyish character, main character, anyways. Kind of going against the system, kind of deal. It all kind of fell into place with what that show kind of began, and I saw a lot of that in Utena. Definitely saw a lot of homages to it for sure, and then Cutie Honey being what Tori said. So, God, there's a lot to break down in the show. It's a show filled with symbolism, imagery, injury. Well, there is injury.
Yeah. There was an injury.
There's a few injuries.
Imagery, metaphors. The list goes on. So, tell me what you guys thought about the show before we get into all of that, because I feel breaking down the show with those techniques is what it's about.
Essentially, for me, like I enjoyed it. I enjoy Ikuhara's weird style of just whatever, and kind of one of the things that I appreciate about Utena is that Utena is a show that uses symbolism. But I wouldn't necessarily say that it's I wouldn't say it's the one where fucking Ikuhara is going the craziest on the symbolism, but he's still going crazy. And kind of one of the things that I appreciate was the fact that he used a lot of like comedy rather than symbolism. Like fucking throw out the elephants and the fucking boxing kangaroo and it's like
out of nowhere there's a boxing people.
I was just sitting there and I'm like, that's where that dude who made Review Starlight has got it from. I see. I knew he was. I knew he was a student, but I didn't know.
I was going to talk about Review Starlight later, but if you take the very essence of the battles in Utena, it's basically Review Starlight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I even saw a picture of Review Starlight characters doing poses that are straight out of Utena. One of the male characters was on a car with his shirt unbuttoned, and we definitely saw a lot of that in Utena.
You know, and fucking he's the guy who directed the Starlight Stage. He wasn't Ikuhara's student for nothing. He must have learned something.
Yeah.
He learned that you need some man service in his life. Okay. Well, Hickey, what did you think?
I mean, I really enjoy Ikuhara's work. There's no way. I cannot take it seriously.
Okay.
I was just laughing. The first time I watched it, I think that's the second time I've watched it. And I just can't. I've never seen Ikuhara as the symbolism guy. Because symbolism is the usage of symbols to tell a story or to represent some kind of things. And you don't see that much in Utena, to represent something. Like I said, there's basic symbolism, yes, with the names. But that's every single anime, every single story, every single literature work. The names are very important, and that wouldn't be different in anime. So I just skip it over. I don't need to talk a lot about that. Maybe with the academy name, Otori Academy, and Otori being a bird, in basically being the phoenix. So it means the beginning and the ending.
Right.
So yeah, the second one is the roses. But I've always seen Ikuhara as the mysticism guy. Everything he does is very mystic. The kangaroos, the boxing kangaroos coming out of nowhere. The cars coming out of nowhere. The battles.
okay, I
Everything
see
is
what you're
very
saying.
mystic. It's very mystic, but not symbol. There's not a lot of symbolism. You only see real symbolism, in my point of view, in the Ikuhara work when it comes to Mawaru Penguin Drum. That has a lot of symbolism.
Yes, I would agree.
But when it comes to Utena, you have Ikuhara thing, which is mysticism and not much of symbolism. Everything is very mystic. Every element is very mystic. You don't know what is happening. You don't know what's real, what's not real. You have a blend of real and surreal at the same time. So yeah, I believe, and you get that a lot in Utena. To the point where a character can be in two places at the same time at sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. The only really big problem I have, it's first of all, I cannot take Ikuhara seriously. Come on, the newest anime that's gonna
the
be
insects one,
released
yes.
next week is about a cop of raping people.
Yeah. I can't wait to figure out what that really is.
Yeah, but again, it's mysticism. There's not a lot of symbolism, but more mysticism behind his work. And the only problem is, one, not taking it seriously. I cannot take Ikuhara seriously. And the second one are the amount of useless episodes that Utena has. Most of them, if not all of them, are related to Nanami, Toga's sister. Every time there's a useless episode, she's involved. So you have the curry episode, you have the boxing kangaroo episode, you have the call episode, where she puts the call bell and becomes a call.
Yeah.
Highly unnecessary. So
oh, come on, it's funny.
It is just Nanami was the character Ikuhara went to the writer and said, can I please have this one for me?
I mean,
can I please write episodes for her? And I don't know why they let him.
I think the funny thing is, like, there's a bit of incest, quite a bit actually.
There's a lot of
incest. There's a lot of incest. What are you talking about?
No, I know, but like the thing that I find interesting, like most of them, at least in my opinion, serve a purpose. Whereas the Nanami thing is kind of like, okay, yeah, she is in love with her brother because to her there is no other man who's like quite like his brother. Like the other ones seems to have some sort of purpose or why and kind of why it's working or not working, and then fucking you have Nanami who's just like, nah, she just kind of loves her brother and then gets up to weird mischief and shit like that. So, yay.
Yeah. That's a way to put it. Yay.
That's the mark. But still, I love it though. The exploding curry going to India.
Yeah, the elephants just everywhere.
I even love the three stooges there. Fucking like the guys who are like always showing up and doing weird shit. The guys are always fucking harmonizing with each other. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
So
it's very cool. It's very cool.
Yeah, my opinion of the show is very mixed. Because I had watched the show 3 years ago. Because I checked my my anime list, and ironically enough, the day I completed the show for the podcast was the exact day I dropped the show 3 years ago. Because I had only watched the first 13 episodes, and I didn't like the show. I don't like it. It did a lot of things in anime I don't like, such as useless episodes, a repetitive cycle. It came across as trying to be something more on the surface than what it actually was. And the longer I got into the show, things started coming together. But I'm with Hickey there's just so many useless episodes where they didn't need to be there, and I'm really questioning if the show was meant to be shorter, but it was extended for, say, TV purposes or what have you. I couldn't find any concrete evidence for either or.
I don't think so. I just think Ikuhara is weird.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
also don't think so. I believe it is a simple story and a short story that got elongated too much. I do agree with you with that because
Yeah.
some stuff you can go online and see explanations for Utena, but like like the black roses and people, they all of them use the black roses because they were unified under a single goal. All right, but why are they there in the first time? Because when
Right.
it comes to the end of the Black Roses, you discover nothing of that happened.
And
Something
that's
in it doesn't-
yeah, and that's one of that's kind of a major drawback I had from the show, because even with the original duels of the student council that Utena has to go through one by one, and you fight them each individually, like, I get the purpose. It's to introduce you to the character. Same thing with the Black Roses. Here's a new character. Here's your introduction. They have a problem. Is the problem ever addressed? No. Even in the case,
I definitely want to get back to that.
okay. Well,
I
I mean, but after the Black Roses, you go back and fighting the school council again.
right, and then it
Again,
just repeats the sequence again. I get the purpose to it, but for the sake of moving the story along, it to me, it didn't do anything for me. It didn't do anything for me to understand what the purpose of the show was, the plot, character development. There was just none of that. And that's just from a surface perspective, because I do take this show, now completed, I've taken the show into two areas, and that is a simple take and a complex take. And we'll get into those, because I have the simple take. Complex take we'll save for later, because to me, that's until you've watched the whole thing, that's when the complex take comes in full perspective, rather than my first instance while watching the show 13. I could only take a simple take from it, from here's imagery, here's metaphors, this is what this clearly means, this is where they're going, Utena's fighting this, she's doing this. It was all from point A to point B, and not much more than that. So it's all well and good, but it doesn't, like, it from an entertainment perspective, it didn't do anything for me from the get-go, and it took a long time for me to finally go, okay, now we're getting somewhere. And so the pros and cons are there. For me, it was just mostly cons. So, Corey, where shall we take the show from here? Shall we go into the simple take that I have in the notes, or do you have something else you wanna hit on?
No, I'm gonna hit on that at the end, I think.
For the more complex take?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I guess I would just start with the simple ones.
Okay. What about you, Hickey? Are you on the same mind?
We can keep going.
Okay, so I have a number of things written down from the show. So use of imagery, the constant use of the rose. What did you guys? This Revolutionary Girl Utena is a great example of some other shows we've covered in the past, such as Serial Experiments Lane. That kind of comes to my mind, where there is no wrong interpretation. Because to me, that's what this show's about, is the interpretation and what you take from it. So the constant use of the rose through symbolism, its use of imagery, what did you guys take from it?
You can go first, Story.
I can go first. Okay. Well, I mean, to me, it depends on what is being used, because he uses the rose for many different things.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, like, you have the rose symbol on the ring that's kind of constantly linking to her, back to her prince,
Mm-hmm.
her, her desire, her wants, like, kind of what she aspires to be, and ultimately her fate. But it's also used later on as, like, you can see the shattering of innocence with the rose symbol that's cracking. Stuff like that. So, like, it depends really on the context for me. Like, and that's kind of one of the things I often find with Ikuhara, that he will often use the same thing to represent many things, not just one thing. But that's just what I get for it.
Okay. What about? So
excuse me. Let me talk about the roses.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask a question about the roses, but okay, go on, Hickey.
Sure. I mean, I might answer your question as I'm talking about it.
Okay, fair enough. Let's hear what you have to say then.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing when I say Ikuhara is not the symbolism guy, more the mysticism guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you look at roses are here and it's everywhere. There's roses can signify a lot of things, and Ikuhara usually when he wants to use symbolism, he uses those very broad meaning symbols, just like roses. The first one I took is the main usage of roses were two. The first one is a Latin saying. It's sub rosa, or it basically means under the rose. In ancient Rome, when you wanted to discuss something in secrecy, you would put a rose on the door, or something like that. The story goes. So whenever someone passes the door and saw the rose, they would understand that was a private conversation and they shouldn't listen to it because it was a secret. When you get to Utena, the only ones who knows what is going on are the ones with the rose ring, right? So like you have those secrets. It's in secrecy. Everything is in secrecy. That's the major one, I believe. He uses the roses for. The second one is at the end with there are three ones. The second one is Himemiya being called the Rose Bride, and roses are flowers used majorly in weddings.
Yep.
And the third one is when you see what Himemiya actually looks like with all the swords carved to her, and she looks like that she's full of thorns. So a beautiful rose always have thorns. I believe those are the three major symbolisms of the rose. The other one is flower language, and you can see a little bit of that in some scenes where a few roses are just popping in and popping out. They are also painted in the same way you see in church vitrals, so it also has that going. But flower language, it's such a broad thing that a rose of a certain color can signify so many things. It's so broad that I didn't took it in consideration. Although I believe they try to also use flower language to that.
They even explained that in the show later on, like kind of just to make you aware of it. Like the chairman, he just kind of like starts talking about flowers and be like, even if actually I also know what this means in flower language, which was a bit like, oh, okay, I see. You wanted us to pay attention to that too.
Yeah, there's a few scenes within the show where there's either direct lines being spoken, so you pay attention to the imagery being involved. In this example, the rose, or even straight up hands being drawn on the screen, pointing directly to things in the room that you should pay attention to. Whether it's something like the butterfly on the wall that's associated with the elevator, a rose physically spinning on the screen when something affects a character's mental state. And that's a direct response with the rose. In this sense, the flower language with roses are associated with weddings or love, those kind of things. So
when it comes to those things, I still have a feeling like that was somebody who told Ikuhara, you can't make this too difficult. This needs to be understandable. So he was just like, well, fuck it, let me just make God literally have hands point to the things that I want them to look at then.
Yeah, I think so too, because you can't make a show overly complicated to understand. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck just discussing within yourself, or if you're watching it with a group, like, okay, wait, what does that mean again? Okay, should I pay attention to that? Does that actually matter? And that was something I was always seeming to ask myself throughout the beginning of the show, because I went into this knowing how steeped in just everything's sort of has a meaning, but it's not actually everything. Some things are just on the screen for the sake of being there and being, as I took it and I have this in my notes, is this here for the sake of art, or does this actually have a piece of imagery or symbolism that actually matters? So the other use of imagery that makes frequent appearances is during the duels themselves, which is a good chunk of the show, where the issue or problem in question is physically represented on a desk during the duels. So just as one example in the show, let's take Nanami comes to a duel, and there's a picture of her and her brother, because, you know, she's in love with him. Her brother is having his own brotherly things, whether it's he's in love with someone or he's dating someone, or there's an issue he's dealing with, and she's not involved. So her problem in question is the relationship between her and her brother, and that's physically represented on the desk. And each person that Utena duels has something along that line happening. Did this do anything to extend the show, or was it just kind of cool art, or was this actual deeper meaning than what was being presented?
I mean, to me, it's like, yeah, it's kind of like what you said. It's just the physical representation of what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's at least how I took it. It's not so much like fucking let's fucking break this down. Like, it's just a physical representation. You have the same, like, they switch it out as well. You know, you have the once they start to introduce the Black Roses, and, you know, that like backstory with the 100 boys who got burned down, right? You know, then the stage has changed up. Like, instead of having something on a desk, you have the like silhouettes of like body silhouettes on the ground of the boys and stuff like that. So it's a visual representation. It's a bit of flair.
Okay, yeah, and that's kind of the simple take of the show, is sometimes things on the surface are what they mean.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. Use of metaphors is kind of unless you guys have more examples you'd like to go into imagery. I mean, we could be here.
I mean, I have the biggest example of imagery and metaphors are my favorite characters, the Drama Club.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're just there, like, making little plays with shadows, like showing the shadows, and it's very interesting, you know, because they play a lot with that. So you have 3 characters, 2 of them are always together playing, and the other one is alone. She usually is, I think it's in a corridor, and she just lays down news from time to time, and it's just imagery and metaphors. They're just there for that.
Yeah, to me, though, I mean, I like the shadow plays. They kind of every time Utena gets a letter for a duel, or it's supposed to be the beginning of the climactic moment to solve the problem in question, the drama club doing that shadow stage play behind the physical rose glass that was clear. I never, like, I get the purpose of it, but I never understood what most of them had to do with the problem in question. So I'll give an example. I believe it was Nanami and the brother, because I'll just keep using that as an example for consistency. And then the shadow puppets in the background, I believe we're talking about the one girl goes to a store, and the store clerk hoodwinks her into selling I wish I wrote it down, like a machine of some sort, and he hoodwinked her by going, "Oh, you like this food? Yes. Okay, you like this drink? Yes. Well, here's this machine that you can serve your family." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." Buys it, and then she realizes, I can't eat the machine. What did that have to do with what was going on during that episode?
Nothing at all.
Yeah, I'm just like, why was that there exactly?
That's actually not. I believe that's not actually the point. When you get the drama club at the beginning, they are disconnected from everyone, and as you move forward into the series, and you get the ponytail girl of the drama club,
right?
and she's in the corridor, the characters start interacting with her. And then at the end, you see the other two members, which I believe they are the older members. They go to Utena and say, "Hey, we're gonna make a play. You wanna come?" So like it's just like that breaking of boundary. So you
Okay.
see, basically, it's a allegory to the ending of the series.
Yeah. There's a lot of use of allegory throughout the show.
Like
That's part of that's part of my
The
more
drama-
complex take for sure.
Yeah. The drama club, they are very disconnected from reality or anything when you see them. And as you move forward into the series, they start interacting with the characters, and you see that the boundary between reality and what would be uh, a surreal place start to thin. So that's basically why they are there. I would believe that.
Okay. The use. I'm glad you brought up the stage play. That was in my notes later. For the simple take. So cool, Hickey. Well, let's get into. I just have one example of the metaphor, and that's probably the one used the most. And that is the end of the world. And I took this as there's always a plan in place, aka fate or destiny. I know it has more than one meaning of that throughout the show. That's just the major example, because you see a lot of that in Ikuhara's work, is his idea of fate or destiny always playing a role in our lives, and you don't have a choice to it, but can you change it kind of idea. There's a lot of religious tones there, and I think we'll definitely get to more of that later. What did you think of the use of metaphors, or even the end of the world itself? What that represented?
I mean, it's just there. I believe it's just one more piece of Ikuhara's mind going to the show. Of course, you have another metaphors. You have the director car as well.
Yep.
And things like that. But they don't contribute that much to the show. It's just there for, aesthetic purposes. Let's put it like that.
That is a good way to put it. It's a static purpose. Doesn't do much for me in terms of entertainment and why I'm watching the show. I think it was overused to the point where it was distracting. I needed more. If you're gonna the use of the end of the world, I thought they were going to address it rather than just leave it to my own interpretation. And this is definitely something I want to make sure I get this phrase in now. Before I forget, is in Mawaru Penguin Drum, a lot of the issues I have with Utena, especially its use of metaphors and imagery, and even symbolism, as Hickey, you mentioned earlier, I think Mawaru Penguin Drum does everything much better, much more concise, and sets up the viewer's interpretation to have a more direct answer, rather than us kind of questioning, does this matter? Why is this?
Yeah. The interpretation scope is narrower.
Yeah, and I personally really appreciate that. I think for an entertainment media, that is much more palatable and much more enjoyable, rather than what we got here in Utena. Yeah.
Yeah, when I say it's more aesthetic, it's just, it doesn't really matter to the interpretation of the ending. The ending is it's very straightforward, to be honest. And
in Utena or Penguin Drum?
In Utena.
Okay.
And because of that, the metaphors and why not, it's just there for aesthetics. There's no big reason behind them, except metaphors are cool and things like that.
See, I still don't particularly agree with this. And ultimately, it's because first of all, I kind of like that loose. Yes, Utena does not have a set, once you've seen this and once you put the pieces together, you will understand that ultimately this is what it was. But I still think there's quite a lot of stuff in here in which you can kind of piece together what they're trying to say and why these things matter. Like, for example, why this is divided up into arcs. What's kind of the most important thing for that said arc, like the opening arc with Utena and her fights. You said it, like JD. Ultimately, it's to introduce the characters. And yeah, absolutely, it is cool to introduce the characters. You wouldn't know who everyone is. What I got out of that though is apart from the characters, who they are, what I got out of this is Utena is obviously introduced, as you've heard many times at the start of every episode, as a girl who lost her parents, and she met a prince, and he showed her something eternal, and as such, she was so inspired that she decided to become a prince of herself. This is obviously like kind of her ideal, her romanticized ideal, and I think the first thing that is very apparent in the show is her desire to keep her ideal, because she gets quite a few times people try to change her, because obviously she looks like a prince, she looks like a boy, she dresses like a boy, but she is a girl, right? And her ideal is to kind of be she realizes that she's a girl. That's no one's saying that she's not.
Right.
She just doesn't really want to be a girl, like not even be a girl, but like dress as a girl. She doesn't find comfort in that. She likes kind of being different from everybody else. She likes doing her own things. And a lot of the people that she faced early on, the first thing is kind of her, with Anthe, is her chivalrous side, trying to save a damsel in distress, quote unquote. And then from there on, you have a lot of people who are trying to change her, or ask, why are you like this? Why are you doing this?
Of course.
Why don't you dress like a normal girl? Why don't you act like? Why are you trying to be something you're not? To her, she's not trying to be something she's not. She's trying to be what she wants to be. But people don't seem to accept that, because that's not how she should be. So
yeah,
that's basically, and that's kind of what I mean. That goes again, like throughout the entire thing. These are the things that I took out of it, which is why I'm kind of like, I don't agree that it is kind of just there. I think there's a purpose to it. I think you get stuff out of it. I don't agree that there is stuff here that is there for aesthetic purposes, absolutely. But overall, I still think there's bits and pieces here to introduce, to kind of think about and ponder why is it like this, and that's always very interesting to me.
So the surface purpose of Utena, being who she is and who she not feels she needs to be based on society or along those lines, that's a good message.
Yeah.
It's, to me, only briefly mentioned in the show rather than the grand scheme of things. I think that was I think that was a purposeful technique Ikuhara made, and a choice, rather than actually addressing, making a statement that society or culture, sees you in this way. It's just kind of, here's a character that's against, the machine.
But she's not against the machine.
Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, but she's not against the machine. Like, she is trying.
But other people see her as that. You even have instances where teachers go up to her. You are being difficult. You need to be more ladylike. You need to dress like a girl. Get out of those men's clothes. Stop being so athletic. That's being against. Utena herself doesn't see herself as being against the machine, but other people do.
But again, that's the point, right?
Yeah, I get that.
She is trying to be her. She's not trying. It's everybody else that has a problem with her trying to be her, because they don't want her to be her. They want her to be like this version that this is what every girl should. It's kind of the same thing. Every girl needs a prince. Every girl is a princess. Everyone's like, it's just kind of like. But that's not Utena. She is not a princess. But at the same time, she is a girl, right? Deep down, that's why she is looking for a prince. Even though it turns out, that ideal that she had is. There's definitely something true that, when we talk about rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia.
Sure.
Stuff you remember might not necessarily be as you were a kid, might not necessarily be as great as you ever meant to be. So, stuff that she liked, but ultimately, to me, it's more about her identity rather than her, like, I understand people see her as being yeah, sure, of course they do. Mm-hmm. But to me, like, the idea here isn't to be a statement, like she is trying to change, that she is trying to change stuff. Revolution is kind of a statement, but that is a bit different. But she herself, she is trying to be her, and she does not want to be something to please others. Although that very core ideal also does get shaken up, as she does wonder if maybe she should just be. Maybe it is just easier to be what everyone wants you to be, and stuff like that. You have the same thing when you come to the second arc. The people that are the Black Roses.
Mm-hmm.
To me, there's a lot there of kind of a lot of themes there are desire. A lot of the people that go to the Black Rose Club and get this Black Rose and then try to kill Anthe. A lot of them have all of them pretty much go there for some sort of desire that they have, and they feel like they're not getting that or what they want out of it, which is again kind of what you expect something to be might not necessarily be the same in reality. And a lot of them, you have Mickey's sister, for example. I really like her as a character because not only is she she is one of the incest, obviously being one of the incest characters, the one with an incest story. But her incest story is interesting, right? Because she realizes that she can't be with her brother, not just because they're brother and sister, but because her brother is in love with someone else.
Right.
So she can't be. And there you have Mickey, who has his idealized version of his sister, this amazing little girl who's fantastic at the piano, who suddenly changed. And then you have her. Well, what's her deal? Well, as she states, she is not as great as his brother has made her out to be. She's never been. He just has an ideal version of her that she cannot live up to, and she doesn't
want to have a good time.
And she just wants to have a good time. Yeah, pretty much. But to me, that is her trying to. She is doing everything she can, almost in a self-harming way, to an extent, to break her brother's ideal of what she is. And yeah, so those stories were always interesting to me. And then ultimately, you have the end with Anthe and the abuse that he suffered and stuff like that.
I really didn't mind. I was wasting my time asking myself why Utena didn't use pens. That's
yeah.
She doesn't use it. She doesn't use his cord. She's using those sport shorts.
Yeah, the spats. Yeah, no, I know it's fucking weird, but whatever.
And I was like, why? I mean, it's cool. I believe they're not like saying why are you using the boys' uniform, because Judy in the school council uses a boy uniform as well, a male uniform, but she uses pants.
Isn't correct me if I'm wrong, but once you're a member of the student council, don't you have to wear that uniform?
No, because Nanami uses a weird Kill Bill type of uniform.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know.
Just uses a spats with the upper part of a male uniform.
But he's also technically not a part of the student council.
Yeah. So I was like, why she doesn't wear a pair of pants? That's my major issue. That's fine. I wasn't really paying attention to that. But your exposition was great, Tori.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, you definitely hit on the themes. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, this is kind of the thing with these types of shows, and that is why I just think it's kind of important to get this out of the way. And that is like the thing with these kinds of shows. Like we said, it's nothing necessarily correct or wrong to get out of it. I tend to like these types of shows, not all of them, but I do tend to like these types of shows because I feel like
not all of them.
Because I'm not a big fan of Lane, but that's because I think that is a bit too far up its own ass. But like it's in terms of shows like this, right? It's interesting because it is definitely a sort of show. Like the more you're willing to invest into it, the more you're going to get out of it, right? You might be completely fucking off base. It might be retarded the fucking conclusions you come up to, but it's kind of fun. You just sit there and be like, could that be this? Could that be that?
I mean,
could it be like this? And then you would go like, nah, actually, that's not it at all. Never mind.
I mean, my conclusion was Akio just made a world where he can fuck every single woman or man that crosses his way.
And I respect that.
Right? Because technically it is.
Yeah.
If you analyze the ending as like, oh, she's not part of your world anymore, and then Anthe goes away. I'm like, all right, so it was actually a war where Akio just wanted to fuck everyone.
Time to make some new Rose Warriors over here.
Yeah, to me that was kind of just like to me that was just kind of like subtitles on a fucking abusive relationship almost. There's let's be real, Anthe, she gets fucking slapped quite a few times during this film.
Not only her, everyone gets slapped.
No, I know, but she gets slapped and she gets fucking sexually abused by her brother, and then it's fucking like she is in for some fucking shit. I'm not gonna lie, once Anthe starts becoming that like fucking a bit of a like sarcastic bitch that she starts to become at the end, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I like this. Like she's just like when fucking Akio's like, hey Utena, sorry, Utena's like asks if you can go on a drive with Akio's just like, yeah, sure, go on a date, and Anthe's just like, woohoo, with that fucking monotone voice of hers. And I'm just like, god damn it. She's such a sarcastic bitch.
You wanna go on a date? Well, I could. And just Anthe go, fuck no. Choo-choo, this is your bread, not mine. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Business.
I love that little moment, like when she is just like fucking. Even the same, like again, it's a useless episode. One of those useless episodes. But when Nanami is trying to get everyone to start hating Anthe, and she's like, I'll put snails in her fucking in her pencil and fucking
Pencil case.
The pencil case, yeah, and all of those different things like that, and just every time, already filled with snails. There's a mongoose in the closet. There's a blow. Fucking, it's not just sitting there. It's like, god damn it. It's like you're trying to hurt this girl's reputation, but fucking.
So
she is already weird.
I wanna briefly talk about the show arc format, which I wasn't a fan of, as I've mentioned, with why I dropped the show the first time in the first place. So did it lack consistent pacing? Because what I got from it was, it goes character intros, Utena duels each one, then you have the Black Rose plot, Utena duels them, and then you get into the direct confrontation issues. That was about the episode 30 mark. So before that episode 30 mark, I felt it lacked that pacing. Too many useless episodes. And it does have the show does have a reputation for being notoriously slow in progression.
Yeah.
To me, it hurt my viewing pleasure. Did it hurt you guys at all?
Not really. It didn't. Like, I mean, I pointed this out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, one of the things that surprised me is not that this one divided up into 3 arcs, but especially, like I said, how defined it is, especially that first arc. Because literally, once you get to that recap episode, it feels like it just stops, and then it picks up again, like from the second arc. That was kind of an odd way to do it. It's like not just like we finished this thing that's happening right now. It feels like a fucking conclusion of sorts before it then decides to pick up on something else.
Yeah,
after.
I didn't like that at all.
I didn't dislike it, but it was odd. Like it was like, wait, it's like what's happening now? What are we doing here? And then it just like, yeah, now we're on to arc 2, and I'm like, oh, sure.
How about yourself, Hickey?
Yeah, no, I don't like the duels much as well. I believe the first duels, they are the most interesting ones.
Well, yeah, because you're seeing them for the first time.
For 2 things. I guess the major thing from the other duels is that they are very centered in like one resolution the character had to fight.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can just get to the episode. You skip 15 minutes to the middle of the episode. You're going to get that reason. And then you skip to the end and see the fight where Utena will win at the end.
Yeah, and it's always the same exact motion of her winning as well.
The first ones, though, first of all, you don't really know what's going on. You just know they're duels.
Yeah.
And they play the short card where Utena lost, right? Utena loses. Yeah. And Anthe becomes the bride of Toga, the student council president. So like they play that, and you're like, oh shit, she lost, and now she needs to get Anthe back. And after she gets Anthe back, and since the other fights after that resumes to people wanting to kill Anthe, you are sure that no one will win against Utena. So
yeah, it gets into that big. It gets into a huge repetition where it's seemingly every single episode at the 15-minute mark is up the stairs, cue the music, cue the tables, showing the things on the desk.
They reused a bunch of animation as well in the fights, and
yeah, they have the same dialogue line of why they're there. Utena and Anthe say the same.
Anthe. Yeah, they're gonna kill him and Mia, and then Dios comes from the sky, and Utena just thrusts the
sword through the rose, and then they
it's always the same thing, the same animation.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, again, these are one of those like weird things, right? Because again, the actual physical fight is not really the point. It's kind of the most interesting thing about these things are what happens around it, before it, and whatnot, which is where I got over it. But yeah, no, like the actual
fight has, and after the fight, what you see the conclusion it is in the real world, let's put it like that. Yeah,
but the actual fight itself is kind of like it does become a bit of like, okay, this is now they have a bit of a altercation, a bit of look around the stadium just to kind of just to remind you of like what they're doing here. They talk about it. The music is fucking kick-ass, and also in relation to what is actually happening, and that's always nice. And
the music and art in the show is
every single music of this show in a death metal album. That would be awesome.
I would fucking buy that.
I will say wholeheartedly that the music and art in the show is so on point all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things. When it started, I was definitely afraid that like the walking up the stairs music. I was very afraid that I was going to get sick and tired of that, because it happens so often. But I still love that song.
Have you seen Penguin Drum, Tori?
I sure have.
Okay. Checking.
Doesn't she screens Let's Start the Word Revolution as well in Penguin?
Oh yeah, she does. Like, again, this is like, and this is kind of why I was like, I don't particularly want to necessarily call all of it, time saving or money saving, because Ikuhara is one of those guys. Like I said, repetition shows importance, and Ikuhara loves repetition.
He also loves putting things on a grand scale, a pedestal, if you will.
Oh yeah.
So,
like we said, he's a weird guy. He's a very weird guy.
Yeah, he's very unique, much in this same realm as Yuasa. So, I think this is a good time to go into the more complex take of the show and what you took from it. And this is where a lot of my notes came from, just like a personal experience, I guess. But the complex take is it's a coming of age story through the narrative or constant use of allegory, which we briefly mentioned before, and you have the physical use of what they mean on the surface, the swords, the rings, the flowers, then to the more, I guess, complex takes, or what you could get out of it. Akio's cars, as Hickey mentioned, the mysticism behind it, the butterflies in the elevator,
trying butterfly effect,
right?
Mentioned, yeah.
Butterfly effect, or even what a butterfly represents from something coming out of a cocoon and evolving you yourself as a person. The list can go on there. Purposely or intentionally, not entirely clear what all of it means until about the episode 30 mark, and that's, Tori, where you say, or at least what you said was, everything comes together, and that's where I've taken this complex take into more respect to the show, because this is where I finally, when everything became clear what everything could represent or what I started taking from it, that's when I truly started enjoying the show. Once we got past all those duels and repetition and the cyclical nature of everything.
See, I mean, I just kind of well, I wasn't mean to say that, but like I still don't really think that everything necessarily comes together at around the episode 30 mark.
Well, that's when it starts to come together, I'm saying.
Well, no, but I don't necessarily agree with that, because I still think that a lot of the stuff came together before that. The things that were relevant to those specific arcs. I think at around episode 30 arc, the 30 episode, more it's starting to come together what is happening in the third and final arc. But and some of it does have some kind of like overarching importance with the other things that they come back into play. But I don't necessarily think that is when it tries to make sense of the entire thing. But again,
with Utena's story and her goal.
Yeah, but her goal was her goal. Her goal was shattered. Her ideal was destroyed. She technically lost herself, and then decided that she couldn't, because ultimately she has turned a blind eye. At least the way I see it, she has turned a blind eye. Her ideal of being a prince is kind of false, because she has turned a blind eye to somebody who is in actual need of help, which is Anthe. And that is kind of with her, which is why I say some of the stuff is kind of overarching. But I think the points of the earlier arcs have already been put together.
Well, the first... When does the second arc end? Like the 24 mark? 23?
24, I think.
It's something around there. And those two arcs in particular, with the duels, the Black Roses, and what have you... to me, they were more episodic, and they're self-contained stories. They're trying to convey an overarching plot, but nothing really happens until you get past that, and that's where from that 24 to 30 mark, I'm going, oh, okay, now we're seemingly going somewhere with everything now, and then when to me around the 30 mark is when you go, okay. Here we are.
No, I agree with that, because the second arc is it's obviously, like you said, it's the side character stories, or kind of the other people.
The other people.
More so. Yeah.
People. But also there's a huge development on Akio.
Yes.
In the second arc. So like the end of the first arc is when Utena starts to be shaken. Because she fights Toga, and Toga is like, I might be your prince, and she's like, okay, now things are starting to get serious, because I might have found my prince, the guy I was looking for. And then you have all the second arc with Akio again fucking everyone, but also you have the Black Roses, and at the end everything comes together. So in that point, I agree with JD. It's when every single point of the story converges to the finish. But also I agree with Tori, where things are starting to come together since like the end of the first arc.
Yeah.
So the complex take, the coming of age story, got me thinking, comparing it to Akage no An, how and not a direct comparison, but that's also a coming of age story.
Thank God it's not.
It literally Akage no An is the literal. No, it isn't.
So that's a more simplistic take. It's a I hope I use this terminology right, and forgive me if I don't, but that's a constructive take where you see the direct purpose of what Anne is going through from point A to point B. While I believe Utena's take is a much more destructive take on the coming of age, take on adolescence, aka in this case the misunderstanding of how the real world actually functions, and once that barrier of naivety has been broken.
Yeah.
So you guys with me so far on that one?
Yeah, because the whole, like I said, especially with the breaking rules and whatnot, the whole like kind of loss of innocence and all of that is a big part of that. And that, because it's like especially her worldview and how stuff work, like she is so dense, right? And kind of as her worldview is literally breaking, and she realized that one people aren't as nice as you might hope they were. Stuff doesn't work as the way you do. People have real problems, stuff like that.
And the real world,
yeah. A
But
lot of
you
her
also
ideals
have-
are just that they're ideals. They're stuff that she has been shown. She has been led astray, almost like they pulled the wool over her, or Akio especially has pulled the wool over her eyes.
Yes.
Just made her see stuff that really isn't there.
Yeah, you also have what the student council also always say when they are together, like the world is our egg, we are the chicken, we need to break the world so we can free ourselves from everything.
Unless we die.
Or else we die, yeah.
So that's it's a good case of the realization of what it means to be an adult and your childish world. In this case, Utena shows it physically crashing down upon them, upon this. So we're all on the same page there. I thought that was a masterclass work of having a complex issue and using, and this is where Ikuhara is so good, and I thought it was much more refined in Penguin Drum, and being that it's still really, really well done in Utena, was quite surprising, and that's where it got to that episode 30 mark, is where I went, okay, now it all makes sense to me. Now we're at this point where we can use this destructive take on adolescence, what it means to have a coming-of-age story in a much more complex setting. So well done there. I thought it took too long to get to that point, but hey, that's just one guy's opinion, right? Okay. Now what I have here is, and this, when I was watching this last arc, I couldn't help but remember at my philosophy class in school, and when I was in Germany, and we read a lot of the philosopher, poet, however you want to describe the guy, Hermann Hesse. Are you guys familiar with him at all?
No, I'm familiar with one Hess, but it's not that guy. I'm familiar with Konrad Hess.
Okay.
Yeah, nah.
So, Hermann Hesse, he was all about knowledge of oneself and how to come to understand one's own beliefs. And that means up to, in Hesse's case, I believe 8 things. But we didn't read all 8 aspects of Hermann Hesse's works in school. We read about 4 of them. And so I actually went in my closet here when I completed the show to make sure I was kind of on the same page of where I was getting these ideas for what this destructive take upon knowledge of oneself is in Utena, especially at the end in this last arc. So just bear with me here as I go through these, and then I would love to hear you guys' take on each issue once I mention them. So Hesse's first work is Der Steppenwolf. Or Steppenwolf. And what that is it's an unaccepting of the current culture and the world of today, in this case, Utena in the 90s, I guess, and the duality of your own being, aka Utena, your childlike mind to your adult mind. In this case, Utena's refusal to be a woman, to the inevitability to becoming one herself, and having those sexual desires, and the list goes on there. So, are you guys seeing the comparison and what's going on here within Utena from this work?
Yes, I mean, like I said, it is the idea of her identity, who she is, like what she should be versus what she is, and
yeah. I mean, it's not even what she should be. It's what she should be, what she wanted to be, and what she really is. So it's like 3 things. It's not that simple, especially when she confronts Akio at the end. And he's like, well, you should be a prince. You wanted to be a prince, but you couldn't be. So you betrayed your ideals and things like that.
Yep.
while she's fighting to actually be a prince. So it's very interesting because she's still pushing. She's hurt. You know, she got stabbed by Anthe, but she's still trying to be that prince. But in the other hand, you have Akio saying you cannot be because you just can't anymore. You abandon your ideals. You abandon the idea of becoming a prince. So you should just stop now and accept it. So yeah.
And he does bring that out of her, and that's something that Der Steppenwolf goes into, is the concept of duality, your old self with the new self, what society says you should be, and who you not so much want to be, but think you are. And so I see a lot of back and forth between what Hesse's message is from that book to Utena. The next one is called Demian. I only had a few short excerpts from Demian from my high school notes here, but that focuses on something called the Jungian influence, aka the psychoanalysis of your own youth, how you see yourself as a child. So, according to my notes in high school, it's one's ability to break out of your own shell like a bird learning to fly by leaving the nest. That's what I wrote. And you guys mentioned what the student council
the student council says,
say all the time, and I was able to find out that for a fact Ikuhara took that particular line that the student council would say is a direct excerpt from this book Demian and Hermann Hesse. Well, I mean, so that kind of confirmed my Hermann Hesse.
Yeah, talking about Hermann Hesse and you know, thinking about Ikuhara works, it's clear that he took the work of Hesse to the heart, and he uses that a lot. You know, now listening about it and thinking about it, you can see that in Yuri Kumarashi. You can see those things in Mauro Penguin-Dran. Mauro Penguin-Dran, you have the what's the name? The factories, the human factories and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And breaking mirrors and escaping a mirror world and things like that. So yeah.
Trying to defy your own fate and destiny. That was a big
with those big directors, big name directors. You see a lot of that. They get a philosopher and they read a philosopher and they absorb in a way. They use so much of that to the point like they definitely he read Hesse for Utena, and you see the deviations from the actual work as we progress onto his newest works and things like that.
Yeah.
As he reads more philosophers, probably.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's kind of interesting, right? Because again, these kind of challenges with identity and whatnot, and society is something that it's not foreign for Ikuhara to talk about, but it definitely does make him an interesting person, because like I say all the time, when you think about Ikuhara, when you hear stories about Ikuhara is not your normal guy.
No.
I mean, just look at him. Look at what that man looks like. He is the most flamboyant motherfucker you've ever seen. Like, and I love that guy, but like, he is absolutely not conforming to any social norms. Not at all. So I think that's kind of interesting. I definitely think there's also a lot of self-projection in his words and his own experiences, but you know, that's just what makes
pretty common with writers anyways.
No, I know, but he's very loud about it.
Yeah, I still prefer Hideaki Anno, and he's not normal.
He is way more angry though.
Yeah.
So
he's not that flamboyant.
The last Hermann Hesse work I have written down here is Knulp, and this was one I actually had the most notes on, and because there's three separate stories and messages in Knulp. The first one is dealing with the problem of love and loving something you are not, aka, I guess, all the incestual love that's in the show. You know, that's pretty obvious.
The roses are back again.
Yeah, right?
The problem of love.
Yeah.
Roses, symbolizing love. Ooh. Symbolism.
Yeah, a lot of it. The second Knope issue was dealing with trying to see someone else's problem from their own perspective rather than your own. And there was lots of forest imagery in this expert from Knope, which is something we directly see in Utena. I believe that's the start of the third arc, where we're seeing a lot of this. If I'm not mistaken, episode 24 to 30 range. Am I right on that, Tori? Am I remembering that correctly?
Probably.
Okay.
I can put that in a passage of the show when Toga and the green-haired guy, what's her name? What's his name? Sayonji, like when they are half naked and Sayonji goes, we're seeing her and thinking she's still inside of the coffin, but in actuality, we are all inside of our own coffins and we need to get out. So basically, it goes back to the Jungian influence, and also they are trying to see her problem through her eyes, but they end up realizing they also have the same problem.
Yeah. And for those that are interested, Knope did come before Demian. I believe Demian is his more famous work from Hermann Hesse. The third issue, and this is the one that's the most I guess affecting of the story, is accepting one's fate and the choices they made along the way, or as my notes said anyways. So to me, I interpreted this as accepting the evolution and revolution in one's life, or the rebellion of yourself. Right? Yeah, I mean,
the revolution
exactly.
in one's life,
or the rebellion of your own self. So as this compares to Utena in the message I took from the show, you evolve as a person as you go about it, a number of revolutions to become something more, a cycle, if you will, which we see in the first two arcs of the show directly. So I took this revolution or cycle to be the most important message in the show. That's just for me personally. I believe in Japanese the word was rebellion, which, if we're taking it from a linguistic standpoint, the rebellion of one's life. As we take in English, it was a revolution. So,
well, I mean, you have also the wordplay in English. They used revolution in revolutions, cycles, and revolution as in a rebellion.
Yeah.
So, like, you have the revolution in the show, in the first part of the show, and then you have the revolution at the end of the show as well. But they are two different meanings.
There's kind of one thing that I kind of refuse to pay very much attention to when it comes to Japanese, because not only do they love their wordplay, but they love their foreign languages. And goddamn it, a lot of shit can get lost in their fucking interpretation of foreign language, because there is so goddamn many times they will use not just one. They use Latin in their show. They use so much.
But I guess I can guarantee the using revolution in English was a wordplay with the English word, because JD's notes, they kind of confirm that.
I know. I'm not disagreeing with you. That's not the point. But it's one of those things that when I see that, I kind of shut off, because there's so many shows that there's so many anime that does this. They're just like, let's use wordplay. What's the wordplay? Let's use fucking metaphors and wordplays and whatnot. And it's just like, fucking here's like 7 different languages. It's like, yeah. No.
But does it do it to the extent that Utena does it well, and having direct references and things that cycle through the show? Most anime does not do that well. This one does.
Like I said, it's most in the names. The names.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But that's kind of just why I fucking probe that up, because I'm so sick of seeing it now that I'm like, I don't care.
And just to be clear for those listening, cycle or revolution, beating the student council, and then beating the Black Rose duelist. That's from a physical standpoint. The under the surface standpoint, liberating others from their own personal Jungian influences, or as we mentioned earlier, the psychoanalysis of your own self, and that's what we saw with you know, the characters in the elevator and, you know, struggling with their own personal demons kind of deal. And then creating the unbalance of the social norms, aka in this case Utena's we could have a whole podcast just on Utena's sexual orientation alone, the bisexuality or the lesbianism, or, you know, Akio's own sexual revolution. Yeah, the list can go on there. I feel that a lot of people, when they watch Utena, or at least what I tended to read online, was too much of a focus on the sexuality of Utena when that's only a small part of the show as a whole.
I mean, yeah, it's like it's not really referenced that much. It's referenced in a little bit, and, you know, you also got to remember, fucking technically, Utena also has sex with the student, not the student president, with the chairman. But in order just to kind of
does, like,
yeah, and that's kind of. But the funny thing is, you know, this is the show kind of, in my opinion, how I choose to see how relevant Ikuhara decided to make this is that it is literally placed in what is mostly a recap episode. So I think that kind of shows how important he felt like that was.
Hold on, no, like she had sex with him before in the car.
That is after.
That is after? I
Yes.
thought that was before.
Well,
No,
he first awakens her.
Yes.
Or breaks her out of her shell when he kisses her in the car, and you see Anthony in the background with the I don't want to say menorah, but it was a candle, and the flames of the candle are symbolically going out and becoming her eyes in the shadow, like the fire's been lit through. And that's what you mentioned, Tori, earlier, when she starts becoming her sarcastic self and kind of breaking out of her own shell as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, but like the scene I'm talking about, I'm literally, you know, the one where the fucking chairman gets on top of her in the bed when she's talking about she should make lunch tomorrow.
Well, yeah, there's that scene too.
Yeah.
That's like, that's not symbolism, my dude.
No, it's not.
No, that's straightforward.
It's more complex than a anthropomorphized bear licking a lily flower. That's for sure.
Well, that ends my notes that I had. Those are just kind of the basic Hermann Hesse notes and how it pertains to Utena. I hope I did the show justice, because I know the show means a lot to people. And
I mean, but you said there are 8 books, right?
There's 8. Yeah.
Like, oh, so fuck, I'll have to read all 8 and watch Utena again. Shit. It's gonna take a while, but it's gonna be fun.
Yeah. But the 3 Knulp works I saw had the most relevance to Utena. So there's that. I don't have much else more to say about the show, personally.
We said a lot about it.
I mean, we've been at it a while.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, again, for me, the things that come from this show, the things that to me were the most important, was obviously the like discovering the self, the identity, especially Utena's identity, and her kind of realizing or having to deal with her not being socially acceptable in a way.
Okay. So there's Steppenwolf case, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then figured that out with her end of her, with the end of kind of like her ideals getting shattered and her desires, and realizing, which coincides with the whole Anthes thing, which is somebody who is currently experiencing pain and is, by every word of the fucking, she is getting abused hard. And she feels like she has to, despite the fact that she can't be a prince anymore, she still tries to do something for someone who means a lot to her by saving her from her own kind of destructive, self-destructive path. So those are really the things that I took most out of this show.
Icky?
Yeah, well, I mean, I really enjoy the microcosmos the show paints, especially if we're going with has work. The Damian part is very interesting. Is always present.
Mm-hmm.
Really interesting how the characters behave and how they interact. Although the show cycles a lot and it can become repetitive because it's the same formula over and over again, especially the Black Rose. When we are not stuck into the cycling, you have all those interesting little stories and little details popping out. Of course, I don't really like people just resumes the show, just boils it down to it's symbolism. I myself don't like it, especially like I said, I don't see Ikuhara as the symbolism guy. I see him as mysticism guy, and through that point of view, the combination of real and surreal this show makes is amazing. It's really good and should really watch it. As well as the ending. The ending, that mixture between real and surreal at the ending is really good because there's no wall separating those two things. You don't have the physics and the metaphysics at the end, right? When Akio thinks Utena died after the duel, and Himemi is just like, no, she's just not part of your ward anymore. So excuse me, because I'm gonna join Utena at her ward. That is just really good, and it's a really good show as well. Just living the fact his popular made Shoujo Kangeki Revue Starlight, which is basically gets a lot of good things Utena has, especially with the duels and making them specialize in the duels and some other stuff. They can also be very enjoyable. Watching these shows and having those little notes to Revue Starlight was really good.
Alrighty. Okay. I'm ready to score it. I think I'm probably the most down on the show, so I'll just go first. And then we'll work our way up to the positives, because I can tell you guys really enjoyed it. Like I said, I originally dropped this show years ago, and I had originally given it a 4 out of 10 because I just did not enjoy it. All those more complex takes on the show just weren't seen at the time. Now completing the whole show, I definitely have a much better perspective on it as a whole. I definitely appreciate the work more. From an entertainment perspective, I still didn't enjoy the show up until about the episode 30 mark, which for a 39 episode show, and you're telling me I only enjoyed about 9 episodes of it, not very good for me, personally. So, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a masterful work, but from an entertainment perspective, I don't feel comfortable giving it higher than that.
Yeah, all right. Well, I believe the show has a lot. It had a lot of potential. It was really good. I enjoyed it, although it's repetitive from time to time, and it comes to the weakest part of Utena, which is the story. In my opinion,
Yes.
it's a short and simple story. Take out the metaphors, take out the imagery, take out the symbolism, and when you get the actual story, it's a short and simple story that got stretching out way too much, and thus getting a little bit of problems of repeating itself. I know it has a purpose, as we talked about it extensively, but it's still, it's the same structure over and over again for like 10 episodes, and it doesn't work that well. Probably in a book or something like that, it would work better, but in this case, not really. But the art is really good. For the time, you still have the pointy chins in 1997. The music is great. I hope I can find the original OST album online, because I would definitely buy it. The characters are also very good. Every single one are distinctive. Every single one have their own opinions and own reasons to be there, except Nanami. but that's fine. The really big problem I had is with the story structure, and but I still enjoyed it, so I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Oh, okay. All right, Tori, what you got for us?
All right, so I hated the show. No.
I
Every single time.
So this was a ploy.
Every single time. No. So I mean, you've already heard what a lot of my thoughts behind this. So for me, it is. I do agree. Like, it definitely does. It would have served better with less repetition. I understand. Like I said, repetition means repetition is to signify importance in a lot of cases. Not in every case. I understand why Ikuhara always wants that, like, walk up the steps, yada yada yada. Stairs of fate, whether you want to call them stairs of fate or the stairs to adulthood or whatever. I get it, but there is a sort of thing that's it does become a bit repetitive at times. I liked it because it's technically the only one of the few moments of Sakuga in this show. So, but eventually that was replaced with the elevator, which, by the way, I love that elevator scene.
No, the sequence is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the tree and the uniform. Yeah.
Yeah. It's wonderful. But yeah, the show, it looks pretty good. Like, it has to have some forms of difficulty every once in a while, which is very noticeable. But, you know, the noses and chins are sharp enough to cut someone on. So, but it's like, I don't mind the style. I prefer noses to not having noses. So the music is fantastic. The story, I like a lot of the stories separately. And I feel like it does a lot to kind of enhance, especially the characters that are in it. But I do sort of agree with it. Yes, for the overall story, it's a bit of like, yeah, it's not. Did it need 39 episodes? Probably not. But I don't really mind that it's 39 episodes. It was a good show, but I ended up giving it a 7.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's just come down to my way of scoring stuff, because technically I gave it a 7, but I enjoyed it, so +1, and it's an 8.
Yeah. Hey, keep trying to justify why it's the highest score. God damn it. But like I said,
to remember, people, we have different types of scoring from time to time.
I know. That's why I say, it's like, when it comes to my score, there is literally nothing to it. I just watched it. I enjoyed it, and then I go there. And I go to, like, my gut feeling says 7, and it's like, all right, fair enough. Because, like,
brush his goatee and just like
yeah. Now when I score something, to me, what's more important to me is my thoughts and how I word it.
Mm-hmm.
The score is kind of just. It's kind of just like a reminder to me. It's like, yeah, okay. It's not so much. It's like, it doesn't mean anything more. If you want to know what I really think about something, you need to ask me about it.
Yeah, mine is more technical. 2 music, 2 art, 2 characters, 1 story, 1 I liked in 8.
Cool deal. Well, all right. I got some fan thoughts here and some community shoutouts, and we can close out the cast. Just right fast.
Sure.
Peter Wright, the best ranking anime that I never saw. Should get around to watching it though. So there's there's something there. Ryoma Nagare, best show about lesbian cars. Just kidding, that's the movie.
Yeah, I heard the movie's different.
Yeah, we should watch the movie as well. Like, for my understanding, the movie is more weird and complex or convoluted, apparently.
Perfect.
Brains, our buddy over at Trash Pandas Watch Anime. It's packed full of imagery and is generally a masterpiece. And then BCom, our buddy over there at the Nerdum and Other Nonsense podcast. Utena is hurt by its over-reliance on symbolism to the point where it becomes almost impossible to parse what the original intent was at any given moment. Still, it's a very interesting show.
I mean, again, just change symbolism to imagery and metaphors, and I can get behind it.
And
although it's Ikuhara, and Ikuhara usually don't have a goal, let's put it like that.
Right.
Not a set goal, yeah.
Not set.
I mean, I believe he changes goals at the middle of the process or something like that.
I mean, from stories of people working with Ikuhara, the amount of times he will just come to you and be like, okay, so this is how I want it. I want you to do this, and this, because this is what's going to happen. This is this is what stuff's going to play out. And they go, all right, sure, I'm going to make that. Then he'll come back 10 minutes later and be like, actually, I've changed my mind.
Yeah, see? Yeah.
So if you want a community shout out and have your thoughts over future episodes, just hit us up at BowlingJD Red Leaf Retrocast. Get the pinned tweet of the episode upon us recording, and you will get shout outs like at Costa, at Crash Cameo, Become, TPWA Podcast, and Peter Wright via Twitter. If you want to join more communities that myself or other Red Leaf Retrocast members are a part of, then we have partnered up with Retro Twitch. It's they got a Discord over there, easy to get into via twitter.com/gyro or Gilo_UK, GILO_UK. It's a retro gaming, just retro community in general. I do talk about anime every now and again. And then the best news is guys over at Nerdum and Other Nonsense, Frigimon Fanatic, that's our boy from Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast, and Brains from the Trash Pandas Watch Anime podcast. They've all band together. I believe the Reanimator podcast is also part of it. That's our boy Yata. He's also a wrestling fan. I like him. They've band together and made a joint community called the Anime Radicals. The site has officially been launched. They have 5 episodes out already. It's available on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, SoundCloud, Spotify. They're all over the place. It's a collaboration podcast and site community. Very cool. It's part of a lot of, I think everybody but Yata has been on this cast, so just go out there and support them. They have an ongoing contest themselves right now. So if you leave them an iTunes review, you can hit any one of them up on Twitter. You can enter that. And speaking of contests, I will reiterate yet again that we also have a contest ongoing for our 2-year anniversary. We'll be doing more in the future, and you can enter via an iTunes or Stitcher review. And hit us up. That is for some wrestling Funko Pops. There you go. Fun cast today, guys. Lot to say over Utena. We were surprisingly on the same page for a lot of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I said it. It's very straightforward at the end. Once you get everything, it's like, yeah, okay, all right. There's no deviation through the actual ending, the actual meaning of everything.
Right. All right. Well, Corey, you want to close us out?
No, you can do it.
Oh, I can do it. Oh, fine. All right, this has been the Red Leaf Retrocast Anime Edition, Episode 40, Revolutionary Girl Utena, and our winter seasonal outlook of 2019. And thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Save.
Let me open this window.
Retrogaming-Modern, episode 40.
Holy shit, I'm cooking.
Oh, man. Come on. Fucking.
Save.
Holy
S.
shit.
Save S.
Yeah. I was wondering if I was even going to be able to get through this fucking podcast.
Dude, 40.
Once this is done saving, I'm heading straight to bed. I have the fucking worst headache.
Oh, I'm starving myself.
I mean, I'm fine. Actually.
Good for you, Hickey. Good for you.
I just need a bath because I'm melting right now.
You're melting?
Yeah, that's the base. That's the best definition I can give you. I'm melting. I can feel it.
I thought you were used to heat, living in hell.
I am, but that doesn't mean I'm not heat proof. That just mean I don't bother me that much. I mean, I've been cooking for the last 3 hours, so like that says something.
You should be well done then.
Oh my! I'll have to scope out my underwear. That's for sure. Noise reduction.
Yeah, I'm gonna do all that tomorrow, and then I'll send it to you, JD.
JD, do we need to send you both parts?